Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday. It's good to have you here. A lot to get to. First and foremost, I did not see it coming, and I don't think anybody in the courtroom today saw it coming. But if you have been waiting almost 3 years for some justice for Anna Walshe up in Massachusetts, I'm not so sure you got it. But there's still more coming. Remember this guy, the husband? He's the one they arrested and said, not only did you kill your wife, you lied that she went on some business trip, you chopped her up, and you scattered her remains in a bunch of dumpsters. Well, they found a lot of things in those dumpsters. They just didn't find her body. They did find lots of evidence, though, and some really bad Google searches. Remember those? Like how long before a body starts to smell and how long till I can get my inheritance? Yeah, that stuff. That's never good. But here's the weird thing. Today was first day of jury selection, and he stood up and he said, I did it. I'm guilty. What? Yeah, he did. He pled to 2 of the charges. He pled. He said, I cut up the body and I got rid of it. And I lied to the police about the whole trip, to work on New Year's Day. But he did not plead to murder. Do what now? So is this like the method of a madman? Or is there something coming like a fox about what he did today? I've got one of the best reporters who is like the king of all investigative reporting in the Boston area, Bob Ward. I always love having him on this show because he's like a serious get, you know. He's just that kind of guy. He's a journalist, and he was in the court. So, yeah, I don't think it was on his bingo card either. So he's going to talk to me about what the strategy is and what it was like for everybody in court today. And then a lawyer to tell me what I think I know. I get this strategy. I totally get it. I think it's desperate. It could work. I'll explain it all to you in a minute. Also, there's some breaking news in the David and Celeste case. Like, it was becoming a bit of a sleeper to me. It's been months since Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found chopped up and dead and decomposing in that singer's Tesla trunk while he's on tour making a bunch of money. And no arrests, mum's the word. LAPD tows the car, does the forensics, and then nothing to see here. Apparently there's something to see here. Apparently there is a suspect. Apparently it ain't good for David. I'll explain everything that we've found, what the sources are saying, and what LAPD is and isn't saying. But this might be a time where David might not be so excited about singing anything but the blues. So that's coming. And then you may think the story's over. Just when I think it is, something comes roaring back to life. In the Alex Murdaugh saga, yeah, he's in prison, for killing his wife and son. But weren't you left with a bunch of questions? I mean, no matter what happened in this trial, a lot of you have opinions one way or the other, right? But weren't you left with a ton of questions? Like, why? What was the motive for killing your wife and son? You didn't stand to gain a bunch of insurance money. They weren't pissing you off. You weren't all hopped up and out of your mind on, like, crank. Why would you have shot them? Like in the face. We never got that answer. All of you who believed he was guilty, and I get it, there was really compelling evidence, and he's a big fat liar, too. But why would you do it? It would feel like the only people who would know that would have to live in the house. Or maybe work in the house. Because guess what? That lady right there, she worked in the house. That's the housekeeper. And she's been real quiet except for when she was compelled to testify, right? She has all the secrets. Starting with this one. Why didn't the police even question her? The lady's living and working inside the house for a decade. And the last housekeeper, mysteriously died, under questionable circumstances. Why wouldn't you question the housekeeper? Well, I get to tonight because she's going to be live on this program. She has written a book. She is spilling the tea. She has a lot to say about what she thinks about Alex Murdaugh and why he did it. And also that he might have had some help. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to talk to her in just a moment. And then I just want to show you a piece of video. It came across my screen today, and I kind of did a jump scare. It's certainly not the kind of picture that I would want to see coming into my workplace, but this marched right into a McDonald's. Look at that up close, that person. The mask is like, I don't even know. It's like a white bird face or something with a white hoodie. It's just really scary looking for good reason. That person meant some very ill will to the manager of that McDonald's. Coming in the back door, you can see the alleyway out the back, right? And all the equipment in the back there. That's a woman right there. And she is reaching for a knife. And she has a single solitary purpose. And that is to stab the hell out of her manager. So wait until you hear what the prosecutors say was the reason. It's just unbelievable. If you ask me, it is just unbelievable. That's all coming in just a moment. Let's start here because we're fast approaching 3 years since Anna Walshe was last seen, alive or dead. And now husband Brian, he's finally on trial for her alleged murder. If you are hazy on the details, you can be forgiven. It's been a while. The prosecutors in Dedham, Massachusetts, which is just south of Boston, say that Brian murdered this beautiful, beautiful wife of his on New Year's Day, 2023, and then hacked her body into pieces and then put them all in separate trash bags and dumped them in separate trash bins all around the area. The cameras actually caught him, right? Surveillance caught him doing some of this. And Brian Walshe's Google searches filled in the rest of the picture because 4 days before Anna Walshe vanished, Brian sat down with his son's iPad, nice, and Googled, what is the best state to divorce for a man? I added that for a man, right? That's just really dumb, right? Because it could have been her, but you asked for a man. Also, 4 days later, he searched, how long before a body starts to smell? Allegedly. Also this, 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to. I like that last part, if you really need to. I'm trying to think the thought process, adding the if you really need to. Like, how is that going to help your Google? And then this one, can you throw away body parts? Like, what, is it against the law? Are you going to get in trouble for it? It might be the least of your worries. Dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body. And hacksaw, best tool to dismember. And then this next one, this is my personal favorite. How long for someone to be missing to inherit? Wow. That one last, that's like what I call motive. I call that motive, right? There was and is physical evidence as well as those Google searches. Police say that they recovered blood-stained towels and rags and gloves and clothes of Anna, purse, shoes, driver's license, personal stuff. They found blood in the couple's house and a bloody knife in the basement. They found protective coveralls. They found a hacksaw. Remember that, Google? Also found a hatchet. What they never found, however, was this beautiful woman. They did not find beautiful Anna Walshe. Did not find her body. But they did find, again, some of the clothes, the personal items covered in her blood. And many of those were found in a dumpster that was right near Brian's mom's condo. That's really nice, bringing your mom into it, allegedly. So what is an alleged murderer and dismemberer to do faced with airtight proof of what happened after Anna died, but not necessarily how she died? Brian Walshe decided to flip the script on day one of jury selection. So he just stood up and stunned the Superior Court by pleading guilty to 2 of the 3 charges that he was facing: misleading the police and conveying a human body in violation of the law. And here is how that whole thing played out in court. Let's roll it.
Mr. Walshe, did you in fact willfully remove or convey the body of Anna Walshe or her remains, not being lawfully authorized to do so?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Walshe, did you in fact willfully mislead various law enforcement, to include members of the Cohasset Police Department and the Massachusetts State Police, with the intent to impede or interfere with a criminal investigation of Anna Walshe's disappearance?
Yes, Your Honor.
I didn't get more clear than that. Yes, Your Honor. And our thanks to Law and Crime for giving us that video, I should add. So you should know this. This was not a plea bargain. No, I know. I thought so too. I thought, why are you bargaining anything away when they're still going to take you to trial for murder? He was not given anything special to cop to those charges. So he's still charged with murder. My first guest was in the courtroom today and has been on this story since day one. Bob Ward is a top investigative reporter. As I said, he's with Boston 25 News. He is legendary in the Beantown area. Welcome back to the program, Mr. Ward. I said you didn't have it on your bingo card, did you?
No, no one in the courtroom. Maybe the prosecution knew this was coming, but none of us, the observers, the reporters that I was with, none of us saw this one coming. You know, I was stunned way back at the beginning when we first heard about all those searches that were found on the iPad. That was a stunning moment. And I'd have to say this was right up there with it. I couldn't believe that he was actually pleading guilty to these two charges. And for me, actually, you know, for 3 years, been wondering what happened to Anna Walshe. You know, it doesn't look good with all these things that they've found, but they never found her body. Well, today, for the first time, we know that Anna Walshe, for sure, is no longer with us. And I think it struck me during the hearing today when he had to confirm that he is no longer lawfully married to Anna Walshe. You know, I've thrown questions at him coming in and out of court. I've asked him if he killed his wife, and he kind of rolls his eyes. He shakes his head no. But today was a much different story. He wouldn't even look at me when he left the courtroom today. It's just, you know, he admitted Anna Walshe is gone. And he is the person that took her out of that home and disposed of her body. He admitted it today.
And then lied and twisted everybody. Yeah, I remember being in that courtroom when all of the searches were announced. I was writing so fast I couldn't even write them all down. They just kept coming one after another. And I thought, oh boy, on your kid's iPad, how foul.
Right.
Now they haven't proven that he did that necessarily yet. What's your theory? Why do you think he stood up and did that?
I think this is a defense strategy because they're whittling everything down, and it all now rests on the homicide charge. He is, now charged with murder, with first-degree murder. And if he's found guilty in Massachusetts, a mandatory life no parole. So I think what they're trying to do is get all the bad stuff out of the way. You know, say that, okay, yes, he did cut up her body. Yes, he did do those internet searches. Yes, he did lie to police. But he's not going to admit that he did anything to his wife. And I think that is the whole thing. What is the evidence that he actually murdered Anna Walshe? And that is what they're trying to do here. All you need is one or two jurors to have reasonable doubt, and this may work.
I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen many times. I was in the Casey Anthony courtroom, and the jurors just could not get over the big leap because there wasn't a body, right? There were some skeletal remains, but there was no forensic, clue there as to who really did this, right? And it really sure felt like Casey did it. She sure acted awfully. She lied like a sidewalk. But ultimately, the jurors couldn't leap over the chasm of, did she really put tape over her daughter's nose and mouth and kill her? And so it can happen. I get it. Here's the thing, though. He's so repulsive, right? He's so repulsive in the way he would have conducted all of this, especially with two little kids in the home, especially using the child's iPad. What was the mood inside the courtroom when all of this happened? I'm sure everybody was trying to figure it out quickly, but were there a lot of sort of eyes being rolled like, nice try, it'll never work?
I think maybe a little bit later we were kind of doing that when we all kind of talked about it. But in the moment, we were all just trying to figure out, did we just hear that correctly? Did he really plead guilty to these two charges? Because like I said, for 3 years, he's been just kind of a rock. I did nothing wrong. I don't know what happened to her. And now all of a sudden things started changing. Another thing, Ashleigh, some people in the legal community told me is that they suspect, I'm not sure I agree with this, but they say the foundation is being laid for Brian Walshe to take the stand. Because how else are they going to be able to explain what may have happened, his version of events, in the house on that New Year's Eve going into New Year's Day? If the idea is that, he left the room and came back and she passed out and died and he freaked out and this is what he did because he lost his mind, or they had some kind of argument, he pushed her and she hit her head and he again freaked out and went psychotic, but I didn't kill her. It was an accident, or it was natural causes, and I didn't know what to do. I'm already facing sentencing on the federal side, so I didn't know what to do. How else is that information going to get to a jury if Brian Walshe isn't the one to tell them that, because he was the only one in the house, the kids were asleep? So there's a theory that perhaps this is setting the stage for Brian Walshe to take the stand. If that is the case, then this is a high risk because he has a lot of explaining to do, a lot to talk about here. And the prosecutor in this case is very skilled, and it'll be must-see TV if he actually does take the stand.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I wish I were the prosecutor because I would have a field day with cross-examination on that, starting with, I'm sorry, you want us to believe your story, whatever it is, whether you got into an argument or she hit her head, or you're saying it's self-defense. Right. I'm sure that's what it's going to be, Bob. I'm sure he's going to say, she came at me. What was I supposed to do? And then I would say, and you want us to believe this, and you're telling us you lied to the police for years, and you want us to believe you now. So I can't wait for that moment, Bob, and I'm going to sit beside you in court so that we can pass notes back and forth about it.
You know, and another thing, too, is that I reported way back when this was first unfolding that police found in Washington, D.C., a complaint that she took out. She called Metro D.C. police saying that he threatened to kill her way back when they were dating. So that is, just remember, that's something that's in his past that, who knows, I would expect that if he tries to claim self-defense, then this is going to, something like that is going to come back out his way. And I don't know how he can explain it.
One of the notes I'm going to pass you is, I told you so. Bob Ward, thank you for this. It's good to have you. I always love your interviews. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Peter Elkin is also very, very wise when it comes to strategy. He's a criminal defense attorney in Boston. He's been on the program before. Peter, it's good to have you back. So here's what I think. I think that this is going to be another Robert Durst. You know, I didn't kill the guy, but I did chop him up into 10 pieces and throw him into Galveston Bay. And guess what? Robert Durst got away with it. The jury, they bought it. They bought the fact that he didn't kill his neighbor and that he did cut the neighbor up into all these pieces and throw the pieces into Galveston Bay. So I can see a defense attorney in the Brian Walshe case saying, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, I think this was kind of what we call a Hail Mary pass. This is the only hand they possibly had to play here. They had such super strong circumstantial evidence that he was disposing of the body, and I mean, you relate a lot of it where, and the next day he's out there buying a Tyvek suit and hacksaw and mops and a hatchet and all that, and then they see him taking bags of whatever into these 5 different dumpsters. So I don't know that he could get away with that. So his only game hand to play, and I'm not saying it's going to win, is that he'll say that, okay, you got me on that. Yeah, I did dispose of the body, but don't say that I murdered her. And there's a reason for that also, is that in Massachusetts, first-degree murder that he's charged with, that's life without possibility of parole. He'll be in there till he's 100 if he lives that long. But if he can get them to charge him, even with just manslaughter, like, gee, life with first-degree murder would be usually it's an intentional killing and you premeditated it. Manslaughter, he could say a bunch of things. It was self-defense. She hit me. I shoved her and she freakishly banged her head and I got nervous and I panicked and all that. And so he's already conceded, obviously I'm going to be punished. I'm going to prison for a number of years, but at least maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe it's not life without possibility of parole. Maybe it's 9 years or 15 years or something. But this is sort of the only game they had to play, I think.
I think you're right. I think that evidence was so damning and the Google searches were so damning. Here's the problem. 4 days before all this happened, I get it. He wasn't searching, what do you do about a dead body and can you cut them up? But he was searching, what's the best place for a guy to get a divorce? So he's already 4 days before something apparently is going to be an accident. He's already showing there's some acrimony and big, big problems. And on top of that, Peter, he is nasty. He's a terrible, terrible person. I say that because he is a lie. He's a cheat. He's admitted it in this courtroom. He has been prosecuted and convicted in other courtrooms. He has cheated his own father. He's a terrible, terrible liar and cheater. And I feel like all that's fair game if you want a jury to believe you now.
That is true. All that is true. Plus, the prosecution is pushing the idea also that he was obviously convicted for fraud, art fraud, and about to probably be incarcerated in a federal penitentiary. And he was afraid that his wife was cheating on him, that he's going to take the kids and move to Washington, D.C., where she was having a successful career. So they're talking about that as a motivation, too, that he would do such a thing.
So what do you make of the jury that might end up being impaneled here, acting the same way as they did in the Robert Durst case? I couldn't believe it. You know, Morris Black was the neighbor. He was shot in the back, cut up into pieces, and Robert Durst beat the rap on that. He pulled the whole, well, I did the chopping and the disposing, but I didn't do the killing, and somehow they agreed. And in Casey Anthony, they just couldn't get there that maybe that mom that lied and lied and lied was maybe the murderer, you know, with a stink of dead body in her own trunk of her car. What do you make of a jury that can't make that leap from a terrible, terrible person who's doing all these terrible things but couldn't possibly be doing the most terrible of all, and that's killing?
All us criminal defense attorneys, all we criminal defense attorneys say the same thing. You never know what the heck a jury's going to do. Every so often they shock us. Now, it's still pretty rare that somebody has a result like Robert Durst, but and in this case, he may be such an unpopular figure. I mean, the idea, I don't think it's gruesome, but the idea of chopping a body into pieces is such a monstrous, unfathomable act. Just it seems like the ultimate evil, that he may be such an unpopular figure to them that the jury can make the leap. Every so often a jury surprises me.
Let me add another detail. Hold on. He's doing this allegedly. Well, no, he agreed to the chopping. So let's just say he's chopping up mommy while babies are sleeping upstairs, and the baby bottle is sitting on the front bench at the house. I saw it with my own eyes when I was there at that house. He's doing this while the babies are in the house. Now, if you don't tell me that a jury's going to be able to, you know, look past that, I cannot imagine a jury looking past that and saying, well, he probably didn't kill her.
Yeah, the conventional wisdom is that he's going to be convicted. I think that since he has no other hand to play at all, this is, as I called it, a Hail Mary pass. Like, what? I'll take a shot. Maybe they won't get me on first-degree murder, which is life without possibility of parole. Maybe second-degree murder, which is life with possibility of parole, or manslaughter, where there's maximum of 20 years, or you could get nothing, but which isn't going to happen to him. But I think that what else is he going to do here? So they'll take a shot at this. He does have two great lawyering all around. Got a great prosecutor, but the two defense attorneys here are superstars. They probably thought this through, and there's a reason why they had no other hand to play here.
Method to the madness. Peter, you got to come back again. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Peter Ellikin joining us live, and like I said, he will be back coming up 2 months after the body of Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found decomposing in the trunk of a popular singer's Tesla. There is word tonight that police finally have a suspect. So is that singer David himself breathing easier, or is he holding his breath? The answer's next. Got some breaking news in the case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, the underage runaway who was found dead in the trunk of her famous boyfriend's Tesla. But this is not the news that we've been waiting for, right? We've been waiting for an official declaration of Celeste's cause and manner of death, because officially police don't even know yet if it was a homicide. And we've been waiting for that boyfriend of hers, the singer, David, spelled with a 4 in his name, to come out of hiding and maybe say something? I don't know, anything? Like, boy, I sure loved her or missed her, or I don't know. And we've been waiting for the LAPD to maybe make an arrest or at least name a suspect or something. And here we are more than 2 months later. None of those things has happened. But tonight, both TMZ and ABC News are reporting that police indeed do have a suspect. And he is none other than that feller, the singer named David with the 4 in his name. His legal name is David Anthony Burke, and TMZ says while no arrests are imminent, he's a suspect, according to their sources. And though it is unknown whether police have any other suspects, they have reportedly decided that the victim's apparent dismemberment had to have taken more than one person. Stakes couldn't be higher, folks, for this dead teenager's toxicology report, which may or may not show evidence of murder and may or may not be released any day now. But I got my eye on this one. You know it. We got our sources working it. We're going to keep watching for the next shoe to drop. In the meantime, if you want to know what really goes on inside the homes of the rich and the famous, you got to ask the housekeepers. You know, they know everything. They see everything. And so it is that Alex Murdaugh's housekeeper is finally spilling the tea. She's written a book. And you know all those nagging questions that just did not seem to make sense during his trial? They will when you hear what she's written. And she is live to talk about it with me next. If you have followed the epic and almost Shakespearean downfall of Alex Murdaugh, and who hasn't, you will remember the Murdaugh family housekeeper who died under mysterious circumstances years before Alex's wife Maggie and his younger son Paul were murdered on the back 40. Her name was Gloria Satterfield, and her sons were among the many victims of Murdaugh's fraud and embezzlement. But Gloria Satterfield was not the Murdaugh's only domestic helper. Blanca Turubiate Simpson spent more than a decade in the Murdaugh home. She was a housekeeper and an assistant to Maggie Murdaugh. After Maggie and Paul were murdered, Blanca adopted the family dog, Bubba, and cares for that dog to this day. Amazingly, she says police never questioned her about anything that she may have seen or known or suspected. But she saw and knew plenty, and she's put it all down in a brand new book called Within the House of Murdaugh, Amid a Unique Friendship, Blanca and Maggie. She joins me now with her co-author, Mary Frances Weaver. Welcome to the both of you. Blanca, I am so curious about what you lived and saw and experienced inside the Murdaugh home before the murders of Paul and Maggie. Was the Alec Murdaugh that you knew, having known him for 10 years, you know, was he capable of the kind of horror that he was convicted of?
I didn't expect that. It was not, they were just a normal family, very loving. He was very nurturing, always joking around. They were a regular family.
I kept expecting to hear some sort of, secret world of hate inside that house, or a violent Alec Murdaugh who used to beat his kids or his wife, or say terrible things or do terrible things. Because in order to murder your wife and your son, it's got to be bad. So I was shocked, and I'm just wondering what your level of understanding was when you heard the news that he was guilty of these murders. Do you still believe it? Do you believe that he actually did it?
I do believe he did it.
Tell me why.
I am convinced that he did it. But I don't believe that he will ever tell anybody the truth.
What makes you believe that he did do it? I mean, I know the evidence in court. I know that he lied. I know he was on video down, at the dog kennels right before they were shot. But I keep thinking there must have been something else, something like a drug cartel that came in and shot, his family and said, Buster's next if you ever reveal what happened, but you better pay us now. That made more sense to me than the guy that you just explained was part of a loving family deciding to just murder his wife and son right there in cold blood. Does it still strike you as just unfathomable?
Knowing the family and knowing their routine, and I've always said this. When they're during the kennel video, the dogs are quiet at the kennels. You don't hear the dogs moving around or whatever because they're familiar with the individuals that are there, which is Alex, Maggie, and Paul. Even though Paul's messing with Cash, the chocolate lab. But when he calls 911 and he's on the phone with a dispatcher, you can clearly hear on the call, when he's on the call, I actually hear a door close and I hear the dogs barking in the back, which tells me that there's somebody else out there. The dogs are alerting. Many people, have said other things that they could, he couldn't possibly, but the dogs, even Alec at trial, when he testified, he said the dogs were not sensing anybody there. They didn't sense anybody else. So they were quiet because they knew the family. And then when he's on the call with 911, when he says here, they try to explain it off. The problem that I have with when he said here, I believe he was handing something to somebody else that was there, which I call the cleaners.
Oh, as if
in
to
the
say,
book.
I hear what you say.
But
yeah, as if to say, here, hold this, or here, grab this, or like that kind of here is the comment you think you're hearing. Can I ask you, it's shocking that the police didn't ask to interview you. It just makes absolutely no sense that you, who knew so much about that family, you weren't one of the first people that they questioned. But you do have a story that you recount in this book about a towel and how there was a towel that was seen on the body cam of the responding officers that made you have an aha moment. Can you explain what happened with the towel to the viewers?
Okay, the police officers, I had Deputy Laura Rutland, and I did have a SLED agent that came and spoke to me probably almost a week after the murders happened. I did briefly speak to SLED throughout their investigation. But as far as in the beginning, they never pulled me to the side. They never questioned me. They never asked me anything like they were doing the other, like Mr. Dale or Mr. Rowe. They never approached me the way that they approached them. The towel, when I saw the body cam video, I remember my husband told me that they had released the body cam video, Officer Green's body cam video. He asked me if I wanted to watch it at first, and at first I was like, no, I don't want to watch it. And then shortly after, he's like, I think you need to watch it. So once I watched it, it was just a glimpse. Officer Green kind of turned and his body cam picked up the inside of the Suburban, and I saw the towel. Once I saw that towel, I immediately, I contacted somebody in law enforcement, and I asked them where the towel was at, what happened to the towel. And a particular SLED agent told me that I needed to stop
obsessing over it.
Obsessing over
wow.
Everything that was going on, and I needed just to go get help. That I needed.
And to be clear, the towel, just to be clear, what was significant about the towel that you saw in his Suburban? Why did that matter to you?
Nobody ever mentioned the towel anywhere. Nobody ever said anything about the towel. I just was simply asking what happened to the towel, because I knew the towel was not on the top shelf where I had left it. It was 4 towels, 1 was missing. The T-shirt that he was wearing on the video with Officer Green was the T-shirt that I had hung in the laundry room when I laundered the towels and the T-shirt. It didn't have any iron marks. Once I saw the towel, I told my husband to go back on the video, and I was trying to see if there was marks on just to see if there was any iron marks on the towel, you know, where I folded. And there wasn't any, so I was more than positive that that was the T-shirt that I had left in there, because it wasn't there when I went back, and there was only 3 towels on that top shelf. And then I remember Mr. Waters saying that there was there was no steps on his phone, and there was, you know, no movement. And then all of a sudden, it just kind of, you know, I guess he got the burst of
Let me ask
energy.
this.
So he said, you know, and started moving around.
Mary Frances
And
Weaver,
I
let me ask
believe
you this
that
as
at
the
that
co-author. My apologies. We have a delay, so I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did want to ask you this, Fran. What still nags you?
Okay.
What's the biggest question that still nags you about this case?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Okay, what is hard for me to wrap my head around is the fact that Blanca has shared so many, many details about the family unit, how they interacted with one another. And it was really a very lovely, caring family with many examples to back that up. And for him to go from that, his family to go from that, to seeing him in the courtroom, he just appeared to me to be pure evil. And that was very difficult for me to wrap my head around.
I'm so thankful for both of you to be here. My apologies again. This delay is always so uncomfortable. But Blanca Turrubiate-Simpson and Mary Frances Weaver, thank you both. The book, again, is called Within the House of Murdaugh, Amid a Unique Friendship, Blanca and Maggie. Stay right there. Up next, the curious case of Ashleigh Buzzard has taken another twist. With her daughter now missing 40 days, this is what Ashleigh was up to this morning. What on earth is in those boxes? And where on earth could she be taking them? And maybe most importantly, does this have anything to do with her missing little girl? The story's next. Melody Buzzard hasn't been seen in 40 days, not by the people who are looking for her anyway, and not by the people who love her. And spring cleaning season is still months away, both of which have us scratching our heads over the latest display of oddball and seemingly cold-blooded behavior on the part of Melody's mother, Ashleigh Buzzard. Check out this exclusive video from outside of the family's home in Lompoc, California, just before 9 this morning. That's Ashleigh in the high-heeled boots and sunglasses and her ever-present wig. She's hauling cardboard boxes to the curb, and they don't look too heavy. But when a gray van gets out of the way, you can see there are about 5 of those boxes in total, and they seem to be taped shut. This footage comes to us from a neighbor, and it's actually reversed because the person who shot it did so in a rearview mirror on their car. Part 2 comes about 15 minutes later. The boxes are gone, and Ashleigh emerges from that same gray van. No idea where she went, but we do know when the FBI searched that house a couple weeks ago, they also searched a storage locker, which our source says is about 15 minutes away. And I don't know about you, but I'm having a tough time spotting that ankle monitor on those tight jeans and ankle boots, which is a condition of Ashleigh Buzzard's release on a false imprisonment charge. But let's just assume it was there. And let's just assume that the plainclothes cops or the feds, who we're led to believe are watching Ashleigh Buzzard's every move, know a whole lot more than we do, because a missing 9-year-old's life may depend on it.